let's go to Peter Mathews, our political analyst and professor. Peter, you've been listening to the discussion all day today. I've been monitoring, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, to get the whole range of discussion. And a lot of people are turning this into a political meter, if you will. Where do you see it all settling down at sundown today, Peter, if you will?
Well, it is being put into a political football. I think that's wrong, and we got to fix this right now because that gentleman I just heard on the phone with you is correct that these bare-bone policies would not have done the job when push came to shove. So we've got to make sure that the policies that people are purchasing meet the federal guidelines that President Obama has outlined in the plan. So that's what's got to be done now.
But let me tell you something, Peter. Let me tell you something, Peter. The companies today are more profitable than ever. Despite it's almost like we were talking about reforming cable television. The cable companies are making money hand over fist. Wall Street continues to profit. Those guys will be figuring out the play no matter what. Tell me how we really do make it a level playing field here.
You know what I would have done in the beginning, and I think the best solution would have been a single-payer Medicare for all system to not run into all these problems. But it's a very difficult sell at that time.
Right.
And since the president couldn't get that, he went ahead with this. He tried to get a public option to allow people a choice to go with a public system or a private one, or keep their private. He couldn't even get the public option through, Dave, because according to the OpenSecrets.org website, it's a great website to track money in politics. In this year alone, 2013-2014 election cycle, the health sector has given over $33 million to members of Congress for their campaigns, Dave. That's the problem. That's why we couldn't get this thing streamlined from the beginning. Now, we got to work with what we got right now. That's why I think they're going to have to come up with some legislation, like President Bill Clinton recommended, revamping the law if we have to, but to make sure that we get the people who have been promised to keep their health care, allow them to keep their health care, and then subsidize them. The government has to subsidize them so they can afford to keep to have the health care that really will work.
Peter, we know that the people who need the health care are running as quickly as they can to get it because this represents for them an opportunity they have not had in the past. People like me with a pre-existing health condition, of course, we need our health care. But for this plan to work, for this Affordable Care Act to work, we need a critical mass of at least 7 million people. Do you think we will get there?
I think we'll definitely get there. And we need healthy people and younger people.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Peter. We need a mix because the actuarials say that without those healthy people, this thing is not going to be sustainable. So what do you think?
That's correct. And that's why it's a very precarious situation right now. We're in a fork in the road. And, Boehner offered to go ahead and revamp the law, but he and the Republicans might want to throw the whole dang thing out. So President Obama is a little concerned about even going in that direction. He'd rather do it administratively. I think we got to get the government to subsidize these folks who are coming in and can't afford to pay for the higher level plan, which they have to have by law. So what do I think? Is it going to happen? It's still up in the air, Dave. I mean, this is a very tricky situation with a divided Congress.
Yes.
With these right-wing fanatics in Congress and on the Tea Party side as well, that don't want any kind of health coverage for all that's even government regulated.
So let me ask you this, Professor. Let me ask you this. Bill Clinton jumping into the fray. Was it, I don't think that he served the president well on this thing. Was he beginning to posture for Hillary?
Yeah, he should have definitely stayed out of it because he's not the president right now, and Hillary's not president. And this is a very, very sensitive situation, negotiating time, and Bill Clinton could complicate things tremendously by confusing the issues. I think that was a wrong move on his part, David. I think that we better get this together, though, because this is 1/6 of our economy. You realize that. And if it isn't done right and really streamlined, we got major problems in the whole economic system, not just the healthcare system. And we've got to do it. Every other industrial country has it. Every other modern industrial country has universal health care, whether it's
what do you think our listeners can do, Professor? You are a scholar of political science. As you point out, this is not a done deal because they can disassemble this thing in so many different ways to sundown. What do you think is our responsibility?
We, the people, have to get on those phones, get on the email, on the computer and email, but phoning is the best. Our representatives to tell them that we do want universal health care, This is a good first step, but we've got a lot more to go. And one more thing, California has been pretty exemplary in this. We had 35,000 people who signed up on the first month in the California exchange. That's compared to 27,000 on the federal exchanges. So
by the way, that number has now been up to 59,000. If that number is accurate, Professor, that's pretty amazing stuff. All right, Professor Peter Mathews, Cypress College, thank you for being on with us. We will keep you very close by because this week, I think, as you point out, we are at the fork in the road, and we don't want somebody to put a fork in this thing. So thank you.
That's right.
Thank you for the insights. Professor and political science expert, our political analyst, Peter Mathews. Look, guys, this is not brain surgery, although it could come to it. It's simple. I understand what John in Westchester said. You know, my daddy died of colon cancer, and I believe a big part of that, and it took me years to understand it, was because even as a Marine vet, he always felt he didn't want to be a load on someone else, and he did not avail himself of the VA. Shame on him for having had that false pride, but we can't change that. The fact is, health care in America is essential. It is the responsibility of our society to try and provide for those who cannot provide for themselves. I do believe that. But let's be smart in the process, and let's also be politically active and engaged in this process. We'll keep monitoring the story.
KTLK AM 1150.